Okay, I think we could start then. Let's see if anyone has joined yet, actually. Not quite. Hello, Otto. Okay, we'll get started. This is the final round of Tier 3 in GT7. So we've got a three-way fight for the title between uh, Peaky, who's 6 points ahead of Skinsy, and Peaky's also 18 points ahead of Dens. And you can see they're actually in the top three, but reversed for this sprint race at Blue Moon. So it's going to be a pretty tight race to the championship, I think. If any of them kind of fall outside of the top five in the races, they're probably going to kiss their chances goodbye of getting a title, especially Dens, who's 18 points back. He really needs to, well, he would be 17 actually, because he got the pole position point. But if he can get the win and a fastest lap as well, then he's got a great chance of getting at least P2 and potentially P1. But yeah, the two other championship rivals are very close behind. But anyway, let's go through the grid. We've got 13 drivers today, and Kanata is lining up last in the Subaru BRZ. So this got a little buff actually before this race, but Kanata wasn't able to translate that into a better qualifying result for him. Then we got Yuri in P12, which is a bit lower than we're used to seeing. He's been performing a little bit better in the second half of the season, but this is where he was in the first half of the season, towards the back of the grid. He is in the AMG, which I think you could argue is potentially maybe top five of all cars in Group 3 and GT7 at the moment. Then we got Major in the Gen X lining up P11, another not too great qualifying for him. He's had a very inconsistent season, not nearly as good as what he managed last season in the M6. We got Polty in P10 in the other Gen X, so both of them lapping very similarly for this race. And we got Dado in P9 in the BMW, not the BMW, the Volkswagen Beetle. So fairly decent result for that, since it's not got the best top speed, but it seems to be good on the infield. They've got Filthy, fresh off his first win of the season in the Lexus. He's lining up P8, so not quite as high up as last week. And Woozy, who obviously won at Le Mans and had pole position in Le Mans, is lining up P7. Whack Jamps in P6, much better qualifying for him, lining up P6 in the Mazda. We'll be hoping to potentially help Skinsy out here in the fight for the championship. He is the highest of the teammates of the championship leaders and contenders. And then we got Claus, who's been performing incredibly well ever since basically, like, I think round 3 or 4. He's been doing pretty solid job in that Porsche. We know how fast the Porsche can be. Then we've got Riaba in P4 in the Peugeot RCZ, just behind our championship hopefuls. Peaky, our championship leader, like I said, he's got a 6-point lead ahead of Skinsy, but he's lining up behind him today. And Skinsy's 12 points ahead of Dens, and Dens is 17 points, I've got to say, because he's got the fastest lap point there off the lead. So he's going to have to, well, it's going to be quite a drag race down here to turn 1. It's quite a long drag down to turn 1, so we're expecting probably Claus to fall away in that slow starting Porsche, and maybe Skinsy as well, because the Mazda doesn't start too great either, and neither does the Toyota, to be fair. So Peaky actually has a half decent chance of getting into the lead if he really nails this start. But without further ado, let's get the race up and running. So we already have 3 lights on, 4 lights on, 5 lights on. The final sprint race of the season in Tier 3 is go. It looks like Skinsy was the quickest to react off the line, but Riaba looks like he got a really good start. He's trying to go around the outside. He's already ahead of Peaky as well. He's got absolutely no space to try and get a move done, and it looks like Riaba's actually taken the lead of the race for now, ahead of Skinsy, Peaky, and Dens has dropped all the way down into P4 there. So advantage Riaba, really quite a shock actually from the start. Just lightning quick reactions there in the Peugeot RCZ, and then we got Skinsy still ahead of Peaky, and Dens has fallen behind them both, which is definitely not what he wanted. And he's actually, well, Peaky and Skinsy now side by side as we head into one of the hairpins on the track. It looks like Peaky's really brave under braking, and are they going to manage to get around the corner? Yes, they are. Skinsy had more traction on exit, and he's got the inside line for this next double left-hander, and he's going to consolidate P2 for now. And this is allowing Riaba to really... Oh, Peaky's gone really wide, lost traction and lost P3 as a result. Wax had to take a compromised line into the final corner, so he's not going to be able to try and overtake Peaky on the straight there. So at the end of lap 1, Riaba's got maybe between a 1 and a 2 second lead there ahead of Skinsey. Skinsey is getting chased down by Denz now, who's managed to recover from that bad start to get back into the podium positions. Peaky P4 under a bit of pressure there from Wack, and then Woozy up into P6 ahead of Claus. Wack's gone for it, and he has... It was a bit overly ambitious, and you could take multiple lines through turn 1, and Peaky took a better one, essentially, and takes P4 back from Wack. But this is absolutely great news for Skinsey at the moment with the championship. He's 2 positions ahead. I think that's maybe 4 points that he'd close in on Peaky, and they'd basically be pretty much level for the final race of the season if it finishes like this. But we've got a long way to go. Skinsey's actually reeled in Riaba really quickly here. And the gap's under a second now. So we're going to keep with this battle. Let's ride on board with Skinsey a little bit. Riaba seems to be a bit twitchy and all over the place. We do know that the Mazda has very good tyre wear. The Peugeot ahead is an MR car, which will struggle on the rear tyres towards the end of the race. So if Skinsey can keep up with Riaba, which it looks like he's got no trouble doing, then he's got a good opportunity to overtake, but he might get it done much earlier than that. Let's see, Riaba's going defensive already into turn 1, and Skinsey's going to try and move around the outside, and Riaba's going to have probably the better exit, and he's got the inside line for the next corner. But Skinsey's just ahead, and Riaba has to back out of it, and Skinsey, from P2 on the grid, has taken the lead after half-decent start, and really working hard to reel in Riaba, and now... Denz is the next one who's going to try and get a move done on Riaba. Riaba's already going defensive here. Denz is really pinching him to the inside of the corner. Riaba loses a bit of traction, but Denz exit wasn't too great. And now Peaky's going to try and get a move done on Denz. Denz wasn't going to let him do it, though. That was a bit of a shaky move. Looks like Peaky's allowed Denz to get that position back because it was a little bit marginal there. And now Peaky's going to try on the main straight. Denz has the better engine here, but Peaky's got the slipstream, and Wack's not too far behind either. Now Denz isn't going too defensive here, or maybe he's choosing to use the outside line into turn 1. Peaky very late on the brakes, and he might go wide as a result. Actually, no, he hits the apex pretty well, but Denz hits it even better, and he's going to have a better slingshot out of turn 1. And they're still side by side going into the next corner. Denz backs out, and Peaky gets P3 and reduces the gap to Skinsey now, who's also got the fastest lap, to just, I think that's 3 or 4 points now. Wack jumps right behind Denz as well, so Denz going backwards at this point of the race. Let's have a little quick rundown of how everyone else is doing. Woozy's had a pretty good start. He's 7th, Major 8th, Claus fallen back to P8, Filthy in 9th, Yuri up into 10th, Kanata 11th. Then we've got Polty and Dado, who looks like he's had a mistake in the last place. But we're coming through the final corner now. Skinsey's got maybe a second lead on Riaba. Riaba's going to struggle to get much benefit of the slipstream on this lap because he's fallen behind a little bit, and Peaky's not too far behind. But really the battle to look at in the top 5 is Denz versus Wack Jabs. Wack Jabs looks like he's closing the gap pretty well on Denz here. Denz going a bit backwards after trying to battle with Peaky for position and losing out, and now Wack's going on the inside line here. Denz squeezing him into the corner, and once again they're side by side coming out of turn 1, and Wack's going to have the advantage again because Denz brakes much later and manages to get the position into P2. Wack's going to try another move though. This is definitely not over for Wack. Bear in mind, Wack is trying to help Skinsey and himself win the Constructors title as well. They've got the lead, the Mazdas, in the Constructors. Wack's had a very inconsistent season though, which has left the door open for some other teams to be pretty close, including the Toyota, to be fair. Looks like Denz has... Oh, Wack's hit the wall there. He's got damage as well, so he's going to drop back now, and this might be the end of his challenge for a top 4 because Denz is going to drive away from him fairly comfortably now. And he's still got it into turn 1. Actually, he's done pretty well not to lose too much time to Dens. Meanwhile, Peaky's starting to close the gap on Riaba here. And Peaky will really need to take P2 if he's going to keep his advantage into the championship, into the final race of the season, the feature race that's following this one. It looks like the top 3 are starting to break away from Dens and Wack for sure. But this is the point of the race. Now we are, well, we're 6 minutes in. Let's do a quick tyre check on everyone. Skinsey's tyres look great. Riaba's a little bit more worn. Peaky's a little bit better than Riaba, so this might help him later on in the race. And he's got some good slipstream. Probably not enough to get an overtake done on this lap though. Den's tyres are looking pretty solid. Wack's aren't nearly as good as Skinsey's there. Woozy's looks like he's struggling. Major exactly the same as Woozy. Filthy, pretty good tyres. Yuri's are in good condition. Kanata's are in very good condition. Claw's not doing too bad actually, if considering it's the Porsche. And Polty's fairly okay, and Dado's are fairly okay. So really, the ones that are struggling, well, Riaba's struggling the most, and that might spell disaster for his podium chances later on in the race. And look, always keep a look at the rear tyre for these MR cars, because the MR cannot, well, the rear tyre cannot usually do the final lap of the sprint in an MR car. I was in the Porsche and it would go completely red on the final lap, and once it does, it's much more difficult to drive a car with a completely red rear tyre compared to a completely red front tyre. It's the chances of spinning are much higher as well. Skinsey and Peaky are tied as it stands in the championship. Okay, and is that including the fastest lap as well? I'm assuming so. So that would mean if it stays exactly like this, and I can't see that fastest lap being beaten, is Peaky's lining up a move for Riaba. Riaba's going defensive, and Riaba's going to have to nail this apex to keep the position. Peaky's going to try and move around the outside, which isn't going to work there, because Riaba's still got the inside line for the next corner, so Peaky's going to have to be super brave on the brakes, and he is, and he gets the position ahead of Riaba. And now he's up to P2, and he does have the net championship lead solidly here. And he's doing exactly what he needs to do as Peaky in this race. He's minimising the damage that Skinsey's doing on him in the championship, and he's in P2. And I'm not sure that Riaba's going to have much in the way of battling to get the position back, unless there's a mistake somewhere. It looks like there's a battle going on between Woozy and Major. Let's just join this. This is the battle for P6. Woozy's got the inside line. He's been defending a train of cars for quite a while in this race, and it looks like he's consolidating that position for now. But well, there might be another overtake on the way. It looks like Major got a much better exit from the final corner actually, and he's just swooped past Woozy. Now Woozy might be mincemeat for Filthy as well, but he's managed to get into the slipstream. He might actually try another move on Major, and he's got the inside line for it, and we know how fast that Supra is in a straight line, and he just swoops back and takes P6 once again. It nails the apex as well. Major's going to stick it around the outside, and they're still side by side going into the next corner, but it looks like Woozy's just far enough ahead to keep the position, and now Filthy's going to try and get a double overtake done. Oh, he just couldn't do it because Woozy's still right there, but this is some great driving with the pair, with all three of them, because they're all still on the track. They've managed to completely avoid contact in the whole multiple corners going side by side, and Woozy's still the lead driver out of these, but Filthy might have the advantage here, and he might finally get the move done on this double left-hander. It's kind of like a hairpin. You treat it like a hairpin, and Woozy's still got P6. This is fantastic. Now, Filthy looked like he got a pretty good exit there. Major hit the wall a little bit, and Major might get overtaken by Yuri now, who's trying to overtake round the outside, the long way around, and he's done it. So Yuri up to P8. Filthy challenging Woozy now into turn 1 once again. He's got the slipstream, he's got the overspeed. Woozy doesn't have the inside line this time, and Filthy's gonna... Yeah, he's sticking on the apex, and once again, they're not getting the move done into turn 1. You see Major overtaking Yuri once again as well. They're not too far behind as these cars are battling every single corner, losing loads of time. They're only lapping in the 109s right now. Filthy's finally got P6 off Woozy, and Woozy might be coming under pressure from Yuri a little bit now, and we see some cars joining this battle a little bit further down as well. All this battling might not be too kind on the tyres either. But Filthy isn't really getting away from this little train as we head onto the oval section once again. He's going to give everyone slipstream, and he's going to have to nail this exit if he's going to avoid getting overtaken, which it looks like he does. Much better than Woozy, actually. And Woozy might come under a little bit of pressure from Yuri unless he's still close enough to take advantage of Filthy's slipstream. Yeah, he is. Look how he's closing the gap on Filthy there. Completely. And now, oh, he nearly went for a move there at the very last second, but backed out of it because he just wasn't close enough. Filthy still at the head of this train. And it looks like Woozy is under a lot of pressure from Yuri as well. Oh, Woozy's on the grass. And he still kept the position somehow. I have absolutely no idea how that happened. Yuri's completely lost traction on the exit, lost the position to Major once again as well. And Kanata and Polti very close behind and could end up finding themselves in P6 if there's some sort of incident between all these cars. Woozy and Major still battling, and this is good news for Filthy, who's starting to get away from this little pack. And Woozy really is holding everyone up, and look at his front right tyre. He's got another few laps. He's got another 3 laps on top of this, as long as he makes those final laps. And he's gone wide, he's hit the wall. Major's going to go through, Yuri's going to go through. Yuri's going to try and get an overtake done on Major as well. It is chaos in the battle for P7. Meanwhile, let's have a quick look at the battle at the front. You see Skidsy has completely driven away from Peaky. On the other hand, Peaky is ahead of Denz and Riaba. Denz has managed to get ahead of Riaba at some point. I think that must have been fairly recently. And now Denz is chasing down Peaky. Peaky's tyres are a little tiny bit worse than Denz's, and Riaba's are much worse than both of them. So I think Riaba might have a difficult time keeping on with this pack, but let's follow Denz. Let's ride on board with him actually and see if he's going to be able to catch Peaky. We've seen his teammate Woozy just swoop past people who've managed to get ahead of him. Oh, Denz hits the wall on this oval section, and if he had the momentum he'd have potentially been able to get an overtake done on this lap, but he's not going to at the moment. So let's join the battle between Major and Yuri and Kanata in the battle for P7. It looks like Woozy's fallen away on his dead tyres now. Now Major looks like he's... well, he was going slightly defensive, but didn't really go too defensive. That's open the door for Yuri. Yuri's going to try and go on the inside into turn 1. Kanata's right there as well, having a much better sprint race, Kanata, compared to previous rounds, and well in the top 10 with some of these drivers. Yuri looks like he's consolidated that position. Now, Major, Polti, Kanata very close together. Looks like Kanata's won that one, but he's hit the grass and he's spun and he's made contact with Major. Where are they all going to come out? It looks like they've kept going, all of them, apart from Kanata, who's span, unfortunately. There he is in the wall, and commentator's curse a little bit. Claus also dropped all the way back. I'm not sure what happened to him, but he's down in 12th and Dowdo 13th. So is Denz any closer to Peaky? He looks like he had a much better exit and a much better lap that time compared to Peaky, and he's not too far away. That would be well within a second. He's still lapping very well as well. Peaky very late entry into the corner compared to Denz there, and a very wide exit as a result. This is the final lap. We're on lap 14. Some of these drivers, you can see Yuri and Major actually with all that battling only ended up 7th, 8th, Polti 9th and Woozy 10th, Kanata will be 11th with Claus 12th and Dado 13th. We've got Skidsy in first, but let's stick with this battle for P2, because this is where the championship might be won or lost potentially. Peaky defending pretty well here. Denz, that was a pretty desperate move, and he goes very deep into the hairpin, and then the double left hand corner. He's taken a much tighter line there, and that's allowed Peaky to get a better exit from that corner. And it might just be enough, but Skidsy has rounded the final corner. And it looks like he's going to take another win this season. A very commanding result for Skidsy. That's going to narrow the championship lead. Peaky actually does take P2 at the end. Den's P3. So the top three, finishing the top three of this challenge standings. A very good result, P4 for Riaba after taking a brief lead. Whack P5, and Filthy managing to get past that huge fight to take P6 and manage to get the final lap when those couldn't. So that means that Peaky's championship lead has reduced by, I'm pretty sure, 4 points to just 2, because Skinsy got the fastest lap there. So that means, essentially, whoever finishes ahead of the other driver in this sprint race that we've got coming up is going to win the title, because Skinsy has more race wins, so he would win on countback. So it's basically a one-race shootout for the title after a full season of racing. Peaky has a slight advantage, obviously, because he is going to start one position further ahead compared to Skinsy. And I think I'm going to do something a little bit different now, because usually I focus on the front at a feature race, give the guys who didn't do too well a bit of screen time, but we've got a championship on the line, so I'm going to start by watching Filthy and Peaky and seeing basically what they do at the start of the race. We don't really see them until maybe lap 8 or 9 when they start popping up in the top 8. But before we do that, let's have a little look at the tyre situation. See if anyone's going to be starting on softs. It's really difficult to start on softs here because the extra fuel weighs the car down so much around the oval and it shreds the tyres. Kanata and Dado are the only two that are going to be starting on softs. Ross giving Rack Champs pub all the advertising space. It needs to be. Everyone go drink at this pub if you live in East Anglia. Might be just one person in the league, and I think that's whack. But anyway, so we'll ride on board with Skidsy because he is the driver behind. Let's just see how Skidsy, Peaky, and Dens. Don't forget about Dens. He still has an outside chance of winning the championship. It's a very outside chance. He must be about 20 points behind at this stage. But yeah, let's see how these guys do. They're all starting on mediums. They're all going to be doing a similar strategy. It's going to be a race of managing your tyres and making your way through the field at the same time without shredding them, because it's easy to do. Looks like Skidsy's got a fairly decent start here. Let's do TV mode and see what's going to happen. So no overtakes just yet, but it looks like pretty bad turn 1 for Riaba, and he's made a bit of contact with Dens, and that's going to allow Peaky to try and just slot through there, and Peaky's up to 10th already. Skidsy's overtaken Dens into 12th as well, but now there is Riaba in between the two of them, and Peaky's got Whack Jams in his sights, but Whack will be wanting to hold Peaky up as much as he can for his teammate Skinsy. Meanwhile, Peaky's teammate's in P1 at the moment on soft tyres, so Peaky's not going to be expected to see him. Whack's already going defensive to try and keep Peaky behind into the double left-hander here, and that's worked pretty well. Everyone very close together. No one's made any big mistakes to give these championship contenders any free positions. As we round the final corner on lap 1 already. And it looks like Peaky's got the advantage at the moment. He's 2 positions ahead of Skidsy. He's chasing down Whack. It looks like Filthy might not have had the best of exits because they really closed the gap to him and Yuri, who are going side by side through turn 1. And then there's Whack, and then Peaky's following behind. Skidsy's just a little bit further back in P12, maybe just assessing the situation. Peaky stuck a little nose in to see if he could get an overtake done, but Whack's still got the position and the inside line for this right-hander, and he keeps P9 for now. As all the other cars are starting to drive away a little bit. Riaba might actually be trying a move on Peaky here. He's got the inside line into the hairpin, and it looks like he's slightly ahead as we go through the hairpin with a really horrible camera angle. and he's ahead as well, but Peaky's now going defensive, and he's got the inside line for the double left-hander, and Riaba's got the switch back a little bit, lost a little bit of traction on the exit. They go side by side into this final corner, which is never good for either car because you lose so much momentum. And now we've potentially got Skinsey coming through. Let's follow him because he's got a much better exit there compared to these two drivers, because he wasn't side by side, and now he might be able to get Peaky and Riaba in one go. He's going to move. Oh, Peaky's doing some bump drafting to try and keep his advantage, and that seems to have worked, and it especially helped Riaba. But Skinsey's going inside into turn one, Peaky's going outside. They basically did a sandwich on Riaba there, and now Skinsey and Peaky are side by side again, just behind Riaba going into the next corner, and it looks like Skinsey's got the inside line. Peaky's holding it on traction much better than him, and Peaky keeps P10 right ahead of Skinsey, and they both overtake Riaba. I think that needs another look, to be honest, because they both went either side of Riaba here. Poor guy was completely bamboozled by two championship contenders. And then, well, he must have just had to lift. Being the middle car, you tend to have to lift there. And then they were battling still, and Riaba couldn't take advantage of their battling to try and get any of the positions again. He just slots in back behind them, and we've got Peaky in P10. And Whack Jams and Yuri still battling right ahead of him, so he's not going to have an opportunity to get an overtake done here unless they make a little bit of contact into this hairpin. Skinsey having to be a bit more patient now with Riaba side by side with him as well, so he's having to go defensive. Whack Jams defending from Peaky now as well. Every single corner, it's attack or defend for this. And Whack and Yuri side by side once again. Let's ride on board with Skinsey, because he might be able to reel in the gap with Peaky on this lap. Peaky leaves the door open a little bit. Yuri gets turn one completely wrong. Peaky slides through, and Skinsey's going to have to battle a little bit with Yuri here, who's pretty much boxed in into the wall, and Yuri's going to have to try and back out there, but he doesn't. He keeps traction very well, and he keeps the position ahead of Skinsey, which is great news for Peaky and horrible news for Skinsey, as the mistake benefits Peaky. And now Riaba's thinking about a move as well on the inside. He hits the apex, Yuri goes wide. Skinsey, meanwhile, actually managed to get a last-minute dive bomb on Riaba, and has the position at the moment, but doesn't have the inside line. He's going to have to try. Oh, he's kept the traction on the exit really well there, though, and he gets P11 back. And now he's going to try and get P10 off Yuri, but let's ride with Peaky, who's once again battling with Whack Jams down this back straight. I'm going to keep on this camera angle because the camera angles on this track don't seem to be too good. Let's ride on board with Whack and see if the overspeed for Peaky or manages. No, Whack's taking a tight turn one. Peaky's taking a really wide line into turn one to try and get a faster exit, and he does, but the door's not really going to be open for a move, especially trying it around the outside with a tiny bit of your car alongside into turn two, and Whack keeps that position for now. Yuri's still ahead of Skinsey as well, you can see just behind there. Oh, Whack's having a go at Polty out of absolutely nowhere, because we were watching this way. Polty's just kind of been shuffled out of position there, and now Peaky is going to try and have a move on Polty as well, but there's nothing he could really do there. I don't know why he positioned his car right behind Polty in the braking zone. It didn't work though, whatever he was trying, and he hasn't got a free position. He's going to have to do it the hard way to get around Polty at this stage. And Skinsey's still behind Yuri, so let's follow Skinsey down the pit straight. We've got a huge snake of cars. Everyone's still really close together as well. Skinsey's not even in the top 10 yet, but this is his opportunity now, and he's going to have to be really brave on the brakes here, and it looks like he's going to get it unless Yuri can get the switch back. Peaky couldn't get any positions into turn one, but let's see. He's actually going to have a go at Polty, and Major's actually dropped behind Whack now as well. Whack's making his way through the pack really effectively here. Polty, oh, that was a bit of a tight one, and that's allowed Skinsey past Peaky, so let's rewind that from Polty's point of view. Let's go on board with Polty. So he's getting overtaken around, but he's got the inside line here, and Yeah, that was just about fair. Polty was entitled to the space because he did have his car sufficiently alongside, but there was just a bit of contact because Peaky had to turn in. It's a very, very tight corner that's allowed Skinsy to get past, and now Polty, is he actually letting everyone through? No, he's not. Right, we need to see what happened there as well. Right, so Skinsy is going to get a position done, and Polty's out obviously taking actually a wide entry into the hairpin because Skinsy's right there. But it was way too wide, and now he loses a bit of traction, makes a bit of contact with Peaky, and then he's got the inside line here. Peaky's going to try actually gets through and gets a better exit than Skinsy somehow, and now Skinsy and Peaky, the championship rivals, are side by side heading into the final corner. They both managed to avoid each other and the wall, and Polty gets a much better exit, and now he's going to try and get both of them. He looks like he's got Skinsy fairly comfortably there. The Genesis... Oh, Skinsy is bump drafting Peaky. Now that's something I didn't expect to see. The championship rivals try to get through the field together so that they can keep battling each other, and now Skinsy's gone for a move onto the inside of turn 1, and Peaky's got great traction on the exit, taking that outside line. He's taken the outside line quite often in these two races so far, and Peaky is in P8 just ahead of Skinsy. These two coming through the field at exactly the same time, switching positions as well. And next up in their sights is Major Ecstasy, who was pretty close to them, but they've been battling a lot, and Whack Jamps as well, who was battling with them and managed to get a couple of seconds of gap now as well. Now this final corner, obviously the most important corner on the track. If you nail it and the car ahead doesn't, and if you avoid the wall, then you have a great slingshot onto the main straight, which it looks like Skinsy got, despite that tiny sound that you heard of him hitting the wall. Seems like he's still got a better exit than Peaky, and he might actually get P8 from Skinsy now. Remember, every... Sorry. Whoever finishes ahead in this race is probably the championship winner, because Skinsy's only 2 points behind Peaky heading into this decider, and Skinsy manages to get the position, and Peaky almost got the position back, but just didn't have enough there, and Skinsy's got the position off him, and with that, the championship lead. Skinsy having to go defensive once again into the hairpin. Every single corner these guys are having to fight. Really late on the brakes there for Peaky, quite early for Skinsy, and now Peaky's going to have a better exit and the inside line for the next corner, the double hairpin. And he's going to consolidate P8 unless Skinsy has an absolute blinder of an exit from this corner. Not quite enough at the moment. Countback advantage goes to Skinsy. He's got more race wins, including the sprint race as well. Now, there's enough slipstream here for Skinsy to have another go into turn 1. Now, is Peaky going to go defensive? He's not really been trying to go defensive at all in this race, and Skinsy's going to potentially nail it here. Peaky's going for the better switchback, but he had to actually lift because of the position of Skinsy's car. And he's going to try... Ooh, yeah, you have to back out a bit for this kind of corner. It's not one for dive bombs because you're turning as you're braking. And if you have to... Oh! Wide there for Skinsy, though, has allowed Peaky to get back alongside. These guys are losing a lot of time battling each other, though. So, potentially the race win is going to go to one of the top 7. Especially the top 2. You can see Dano and Claus absolutely miles ahead of everyone else at this stage. I think Claus was on mediums as well, so he's doing particularly well. And then it looks like a battle for P3 between everybody else. And Skinsy once again has a better run out of the final corner, and now it's just going to be a drag race unless Skinsy gets fully ahead, which it looks like he's going to do. And now Peaky's going to have the slipstream. And once again, battling through every single corner. We can see Major battling with 2 cars just ahead as well. And someone's in the grass. Kanata's in the grass. He's going to have to get out of the way of these guys, which he does really well. Bad news for Kanata once again, but this is great for both of these two because they've got 2 free positions, and Major seems to be all over the place ahead of them. Peaky thought about a really late break, and he tried it, and actually it's worked out for him. Skinsy's still holding the position. I've lost count of how many corners these guys have tried to make overtakes on each other in this race. And they don't have Yuri. Well, Yuri is still too far behind to actually come into play here, which is good news for both of them, because they can just focus on battling each other. The battle for the championship and the battle for P7. And now we might see, actually, that Beetle seems to be a little bit quicker in a straight line than Skinsy, unless Skinsy was short shifting there. Maybe he's fuel saving. He does have a bit more fuel left in the tank than Peaky, and he's lost that position once again. So advantage Peaky in the championship, and we are on lap 11. We're only 12 minutes into this feature race. It feels like a lot longer because the amount of action that we've seen is crazy. Skinsy puts a couple of wheels on the grass there, loses a bit more momentum to Peaky as well. Actually, they've reeled in Whack and Major pretty quickly here. So this is now a battle for P5 that Skinsy is at the tail of. A little bit further back, we've got Yuri still holding off Dent. Dado is the first person into the pits off of his softs. We've got Polty, Kanata on his soft tyres. Don't forget, he's been on softs all race, but he had that spin, and then Ryaba is all the way at the back. He's already made his pit stop, so I don't know if he's going to do a 2-stop. Because he's going to have to make softs go to the end of the race. That puts Claus in the lead of the race, followed by Woozy in P2. Filthy having a pretty solid race so far in P3. Then we've got Whack Jams P4, Major P5, Peaky closing in on Major. Want to get at least one car in between him and Skinsy before the pit stops begin to... Oh, he's gone really wide there though. That's going to allow Skinsy to have, again, another go. Now, is he going to be the last of the late breakers? The space is left by Peaky, but Skinsy just was nowhere near enough alongside, which is why he backed out and is losing a bit of ground now. And this is going to potentially allow Peaky to have a good end to the lap and maybe get that position from Major. End of lap 12. We've already seen the soft runners pit. But it is far too early for the medium guys. Let's see if Peaky... Major's taking a much tighter line into turn 1 compared to Peaky, and that might open... No. Peaky couldn't put his foot on the throttle because he was too close to Major's car in front, which meant that he couldn't get alongside into turn 2. And he's got a tuck up behind, which is why he's lost a little bit of time, and why Skinsy's right behind him again. The door might be left open though for the hairpin. He's got so much more tyres, Peaky, compared to Major, and he's trying to move down the inside. Major was trying to defend pretty hard there, but there was nothing he could do, and Peaky's up into P5, and now Skinsy is going to have to try and get past him, unless Major can get past Peaky fairly quickly here. These guys are losing a bit of time now with the traffic, so Major will have to get past him on this straight if he's going to keep close with Peaky. He definitely has a run on Major. The door's been left open. Major's trying to use whatever he can of Peaky's slipstream ahead, but he might be a little bit too far away to get much benefit from that. And it looks like Skinsy's got that position fairly easily into turn 1. That's mainly because look at Major's tyres, they are completely dead. You can't battle around the outside of turn 1 with tyres like that when the car ahead is nearly full. Skinsy definitely, you have to drive this track a certain way to preserve the tyres. If you are going full lock on corners, whether that be on pad or on wheel, you're going to absolutely burn through the tyres. And we're seeing, for example here, full lock with Major, and that just burns the tyres so much more than if you are a little bit more gentle. But let's have a look again And this is the battle for P4. Whack, Skinsy's teammate, is ahead of Peaky and holding him up now. And Skinsy's right behind. So Skinsy will be asking Whack for a massive favour here to help keep Peaky behind. Oh, is Whack going to go into the pits? No, he's just going defensive. Now, Whack is going defensive into turn 1. Peaky's going to have to go the long way around. Is he going to be able to? And is this going to open the door maybe for Skinsy? Peaky's going to get alongside up into turn 2. And Whack takes a wider entrance and he goes onto the grass. That always happens when you try to take a wider entrance into turn 2. So difficult to do. Whack's not really lost much time, but he's lost positions. So that is bad news for Skinsy, who was probably hoping that Whack could do him a little bit more of a favour there than he ended up doing. Meanwhile, the battle for P1, well, Claus is miles ahead. Definitely pole position for the race win ahead of Woozy and Filthy, who you can see just ahead of us. Then we've got our championship contenders Peaky and Skinsy in the top 5 now on lap 15 of the race, 17 minutes in. We are just about to complete 15 of, I can't remember, I think it might have been 34 laps. So almost halfway into the race. Everyone's still got their pit stops to do as well, and we've got to see what they can do on the soft tyres. Let's have a little look at this battle for P2. It looks like Filthy's finally going to get P2 off of Woozy. Great little overtake there in the Lexus. Lexus having a little bit better tyre life around here compared to the Toyota, or at least in the hands of excuse me, I've got a bad cough today, of Woozy. Well, Peaky and Skinsy still within probably half a second here. Skinsy had a much better exit out of turn 3 as well, or is it turn 4, I don't know. Now, pit strategy is probably going to come into play a lot for these two. Who is going to try and get the undercut on fresh soft tyres and come out ahead of the other one if they don't pit at the same time? And Skinsy's also got slightly more fuel as well, so he should have to technically refuel less than Peaky when he ends up coming into the pits, which he's still carrying on for another lap. I don't think I've got a cold, I don't know. Maybe it's just all this talking. Let's have a little look. Oh, Whack's getting bumped through turn 1 by Dents. Actually, Whack's got a huge... It sounded like he hit the wall there at the exit of turn 1. And that's opening the door a little bit for Dents, who has pretty good tyre life left on that GR Supra, so managing the tyres much better than his teammate in P3 there, but he goes off track completely, and that allows Whack to escape. And now Kanada's gonna, who still hasn't pit off his softs yet, is going to try and get a move done at the hairpin here, and it looks like he's going to pull it off pretty well as well. So good little overtake there from Kanata. Meanwhile, Peaky's now caught up to Woozy, whose tyres are completely dead and he's making mistakes. And this is going to be holding these guys up. They're going to have to try and get past him into turn 1. And Peaky's got the slipstream, and yeah, Skid's going to have to tuck back in behind him. Now I think we'll see Peaky throwing it into turn 1. Actually, he doesn't. Oh, Woozy goes wide. That opens the door for Peaky. Actually, Skidsy was already there, and Peaky shut the door on him. And now Peaky's got P3. Woozy hit the wall a little bit there. And Skidsy's going to try and move into turn 4, and he knows that Woozy's tyres are completely gone, and he just can't turn in. And Skinsy nicks that position off Woozy very easily. Woozy needs to be in the pits like yesterday. His tyres are completely gone, and he's just going to have to nurse these last few corners. And we'll see if he pits this lap, but it might still be a little bit too early for him, considering if his mediums are dead after half a race, his softs is surely going to be dead much earlier than that in the second half of the race. Ooh, was that a corner cut there from Skinsy? We will see. Claws in the pits from P1. Looks like Filthy's carrying on. Looks like Peaky's carrying on. Looks like Skinsy's going into the pits as well. and Woozy is in the pits as well. Wax carrying on, Kanada's carrying on his soft tyres, Den's in the pits, Major in the pits. Yuri hits the wall, I thought he was going to, and he's been reset to track with heavy engine damage. Oh dear. Oh, let's watch that again. Oh my god, moment of the season. So he's trying to overtake Major into the pits, I guess, and then just hits the wall, and then he gets reset to track. Oh dear me. Right, let's ride on board with Peaky for this lap, because we know Skinsy is going to be probably coming out ahead of him if he gets the undercut right. Peaky has to get this lap completely perfect. He's 3/10 down in the first sector. You saw him going pretty wide around turn 2/3 there. And he's going to need to really pull something out of the bag here to minimize the gap to Skinsy. Skinsy might have played a blinder with strategy. You could see he was fuel saving with where he was upshifting for the whole strategy. I'm not sure if Peaky was doing the same. I don't even know if the Beetle can fuel save. I know it's got 7 gears. I don't think I've seen Peaky use the 7th gear this season though. Peaky's trying something different. He's going to go longer. So he is knowing that he's conceding the position at this point to Skinsy. But he's going to bank on the fresher tyres at the end of the race to come back to him. Whackjam's still going as well. Filthy's still going. Kanata's still going on those softs. BRZ very good on tyres. Does that make up for its deficiencies in every other aspect of the car? Probably not. Dado is the lead driver of the cars that have already come into the pits. He's on another set of soft tyres, so he's going to have to pit a second time. So he's banking on a 2-stopper. And then we've got Riaba, who hit early as well. I think he's probably going to have to 2-stop as well, because he's undercut Claus, who's got completely fresh soft tyres and is hoping not to have to pit a second time. Then we've got Skinsy, quite a way behind those guys though. Plenty ahead of Woozy, who is still ahead of Dens. Then we got Polty a little bit further back. Major, and Yuri's finally. Oh, poor guy. He was doing pretty well this round until that happened. That is something that can happen to anyone though. Peaky's finally coming into the pits, as is Filthy. I think we're going to expect to see Kanata coming in as well. He managed to get past Wack as well. Hopefully Wack doesn't do the same mistake that Yuri does. He doesn't. Dado's carrying on, and he's going to be our race leader once again in this final round. And what about Riaba? Is Riaba going to come past everybody as well? I suspect so. Yeah, he's going to take P2. Claus is going to take P3 quite comfortably. I expect Skinsy will be in P4 after all this. Actually, no, Filthy's coming out, and you can see Skinsy in the background there. Peaky is coming out behind. Wow, that was a lot closer than I expected it to be. Peaky just behind Skinsy. Skinsy's put a lot more fuel in, so I don't know if he made a mistake in his calculations there compared to Peaky. Let's have a little look at everyone else. Filthy's not put much fuel in. Claus hasn't. Yeah, Skinsy's got way more fuel than everyone else, so the time lost from the undercut was putting in the fuel, and then he managed to just be ahead of Peaky coming out of the pits, because Peaky put in less fuel, even though he was slower on those medium tyres on his in lap. Now Peaky's got to get his tyres warmed up pretty quickly as well, because Skinsy is starting to drive away from him a little bit on this lap. And there is a little adjustment that a lot of drivers have to make when you go from one tyre compound to the next, especially worn mediums to fresh softs. You have to kind of remember that you are able to take these corners much more aggressively, and it can lead to some people trying the undercut and it not working because they're just going too careful through these corners. I've done that before, I think. Yeah, Peaky's losing ground to Skinsy now. Skinsy has absolutely put the hammer down. Looks like Claus and Riaba are battling for P2, and Claus is getting the position. Riaba's tyres are pretty dead now. Riaba trying a completely different strategy to everybody else. Early pit stop and then 2 longer stints on the soft, so he's going to have to come in fairly soon, as is Dado. from the lead, and they might come out pretty far back. There's quite a long pit lane here, especially for such a short track. Dado's making his second stop. Rabbit looked like he thought about he was going in, and then he was like, nah, I'm going to stay out one more lap. He does have the tyres for one more lap, but at the end of this lap he would definitely have to come into the pits, because the next lap his rear tyres are definitely going to be completely dead, and he'll be fairly fucked if he doesn't. And that means that Filthy is basically net P3, Skinsy's net P2. Peaky is actually closing the gap a little bit now on Skinsy, 10th quicker on that last lap. Woozy's still doing pretty well in P6, gotta say. Actually gone purple in the first sector as well. The two Toyotas fairly close together on track now. Den's managing to finally make his way through the field. He's not made as quick work as Peaky and Skidsy managed, as we saw basically. He basically fell behind both of them in the opening couple of laps, and then that's the tricky thing with the reverse grid. You start with slower drivers in front of you in theory, and the quicker ones behind you, and your job is to get past the slower ones before the quicker ones overtake you, so that you can build the gap and stay ahead of the quicker ones. Riaba's in the pits for his second stop, just like I predicted. Let's see where Dado actually came out in P8. That's worked out really well for Dado. He's made 2 stops already, and he's out in P8. He's got his medium stint to do now. Everyone else is going to be on soft, so he might be falling backwards, but that's pretty solid. Riaba, what about you? What are you going to manage to do? He's probably going to be towards the back, actually. So Dado managed to really take advantage of starting on pole position, and now he's got a good chance of a solid top 10. He's in 7th. He's getting chased down by Wack, though. And I have a feeling Wack's going to make short work of this. Not sure how Wack is so far back on... like he's behind the 2 Toyotas, whereas his teammate's up in 3rd right now. Oh, real bad exit there from the double left-hander by Dado, but he keeps the position and takes the last corner. Well, I was going to say much better, but he's kind of out of control of his car at the moment. I think he's pushing like as if he were on soft tyres, but he's on mediums, and he's trying really hard to keep the driver behind. But if he keeps that up, he's going to be making a spin or 2 before the end of the race. It's because I'm slow. Okay, fair. Den's lining up a move on his teammate. Are we going to see teammate orders here, or are we going to see a battle through turn 2? Dens really wants that position. He looked like he might have gone for it. What's happened to Peaky as well? He's quite a way behind Skinsy. Are we about to see a spin? No, he's already quite far behind. I don't know. Anyway, let's not try and find a spin where it's unnecessary. Skidsy's actually just lapping in the 7s. Meanwhile, Peaky's lapped a 9 and an 8. And Skinsy's lining up a move on Filthy now as well. So this means... well, things are looking very good at the moment for Skinsy in terms of the championship. Maybe P1 in this race is a little bit too far, but all he has to do right now, especially now they're battling for the top positions, he's just set the fastest lap as well, so that's an extra point for Skinsy. If he overtakes Filthy, that is a driver in between him and Peaky that Peaky would have to overtake and then overtake Skinsy before the end of the race. It really feels like at this stage the championship is... he's got one hand on the championship. He just has to avoid making a mistake for the rest of the race. The pressure he must be feeling right now must be pretty high, and same for Peaky, to be fair. There's a lot at stake here. Looks like Dens has got past Woozy, but we're going to stick with Skinsy for right now. First driver to get into the 6s actually, Skinsy. You can see he's not short shifting anymore as well. So what Skinsy did there was pit early, put extra fuel in so that he could rev this car. I wonder if he's even going to go into 6th gear here. Is he putting enough fuel? Oh yeah, he is going into 6th. Filthy put in a pretty good defense here. Remember, he won the feature race last time out. Lex is a very good car. Don't forget as well, Filthy's been in Tier 1 in the past, so he knows how to race. He was 1 point away from winning the Tier 2 championship around about a year ago. Dropped down to Tier 3. Got a new wheel setup, as did Skinsy this season. As did Peaky, but Peaky's still on pad for the rest of the season. I think he switched to wheel next season. But it has made both of these drivers improve a lot. Because I was racing with these two last season, and I think they're getting a lot closer to my pace now with these new wheel setups. Filthy went really wide at that final turn. That's allowed Skinsy to take 2nd place and extend his lead in the championship to either 3 or 4 points. Someone in the chat might have to tell me. And now Filthy, instead of trying to overtake Skinsy, he's trying to, he just decided to do a bump draft instead. Maybe he knows that he's not going to get that position back. His tyres are a lot more worn than Skinsy's as well. And things are looking good for Skinsy. Look at that, he's already got pretty much a 2nd on Filthy there. Filthy's just going to have to try and maintain this podium, I suppose. And Peaky will have seen on the standing screen that Skinsy overtook Filthy, and his heart will have dropped a little bit more. Peaky's been leading this championship pretty much the entire way since round 1. But it's been incredibly close. There's never been more than 10 points in it between Skinsy and Peaky. Obviously, we've got Dens, who came into this round with an outside chance of the championship, but he's behind both of them in the sprint, and he's behind both of them in the feature at the moment as well. So he is not in contention anymore, especially with the other two in the top 4 in the feature. They both have to have big instants and Dens to come through and get a very strong result to overturn the 20-point gap that he's got on the lead. Meanwhile, Skinsy only had a 2-point gap on the lead, and he's going to, he's 2 positions ahead, which is it's either 4 or 5 points, but then he's got an extra point for the fastest lap. So Peaky would really have to work hard to reel in Filthy before the end of the race, and hope and pray that Skinsy has some sort of mistake. Maybe hit the wall, maybe run out of tyres, maybe have a spin. It's very easy to do on this track. There's not many corners, but they're all very tricky corners to navigate, as we've seen with multiple off-track excursions. We've got Dens in P5. Woozy has settled into P6. He's got a little bit of a gap ahead of him to whack in P7. We've got Polty 8th. Dado's dropped to 9th for now, but in these last these last 10 minutes, the tyres will start coming back to him. Actually, does he even have enough fuel? Look at the fuel on him. I think he's under-fueled. Oh, what a shame. He's going to have to pit again, 100%. Major's already on completely dead red tyres, and there's 7 minutes left of the race to go. Is he just going to try and stick it out and keep that top 10? He's got quite a big gap between him and Kanata. No, he's going into the pits. So that means Kanata is going to take P10 on his last race in this Subaru, which he's absolutely hated driving this season. Ryaba is in P11, the first of the two, well, actually second, because Dado's also 2-stopped. Major's also 2-stopped. Yuri just had a huge... Oh, he's pit again. Maybe he's going for fastest lap, I don't know. But he's a lap down, actually. That's Claus ahead of him. So let's hope that he doesn't get too much in the way of Skinsy or Peaky. Filthy's actually not too far behind at the moment. Skinsy's lapping in the 7s. Last 4 laps been in the 7s. Meanwhile, Filthy's got 2, well, mostly in the 7s, couple in the low 8s, and Peaky's in the 7s as well. So Peaky lapping a little bit quicker than Filthy at the moment. But I'm not too sure that he's going to be able to... I mean, that's quite a big gap for five and a bit minutes, isn't it? So Filthy might be on for another feature race podium here, which would be quite good for him. Claus, let's give some love to Claus. He's got completely red tyres at the moment. Actually, he's lapping in the 8s and 9s these last couple laps, and he's on the grass again. He's done a remarkable job this race. He's been leading for a very long time, and we've hardly even spoken about him. He's in the Porsche, which has pretty bad tyre wear, and he keeps going wide. I don't know if... Well, actually, that's Yuri. I thought that was Skidsy behind him. It's actually Yuri behind him, so there is a little bit of a gap to Skidsy, but he just has to put in some solid final few laps. He's got 5 more minutes, basically, on these tyres. They are completely dead. He's hitting the wall. He didn't get any damage, though, fortunately for him. And this might be a bit of a rocky end, because let's have a quick look at Skidsy's tyres, which are in a much better position than Claw's. Skidsy's lapping in the 7s. Is this going to be a 7 again? Yeah, another 7. So he's basically a lap faster at the moment than Claw's. Only a couple laps left, though. Four laps, I think. 4 laps. I can't remember how many laps this race was. It's been too long since I raced. Yuri's in the grass. It's going from bad to worse for Yuri. But he was in 13th place anyway, so I don't suppose it matters too much. Filthy sweeps through. Peaky is closing in on Filthy a little bit there. He's about half a second a lap quicker. He might be able to catch him right at the end. And then there's a bit of a gap to Dens, Whack Jams, Woozy. Pretty close to Whack at the moment, but his tyres are completely gone. Dado is about to run out of fuel. Let's just follow Dado for the rest of the lap. I think he's going to have to come into the pit stops for stop number 3 of the feature race. He's had a pretty strong feature. Oh, what's happened to Claws? What has happened to Claws? I can't believe we missed it. Right, we need to go back a little bit further. Something's happened earlier on in the lap, because look, he's got a fairly decent gap to Skidsy at the moment. Goes really wide into the hairpin. Loses a bit of traction on the exit. Wide again. Every single corner Claus going wide. That's allowing Skidsy to really close the gap here. Is Claus going to go wide again? He's just got no grip at all. Skidsy's going to inherit the race lead, and the championship looks almost a certainty at this point, unless Claus can try something and get try another move into turn 1 with completely dead tyres. Actually, he goes for the bump draft. Maybe he just knows that he's got no tyres left to fight Skidsy, and yeah, he just settles into P2. P2's still a very solid result for that Porsche. He had an absolutely rotten sprint race. He's not got good tyre wear, and he's got a car that doesn't have good tyre wear as well. And he's got another few laps on completely dead. Look, his rear is about to go, which means we're about to enter spin territory, but he's still got P2 at the moment. Filthy's front right is nearly completely dead, so that's going to open the door for Peaky potentially, who's still lapping in the 7s. So Peaky's doing as much as he physically can to try and get positions here, despite the fact that Skidsy has made his way through this pack. Basically, the big changing point in this race was the pit window. Skidsy pitting 2 laps earlier, coming out just ahead of Peaky. Peaky not being able to get that position on the first lap. Maybe a little bit, he let Skidsy get away, essentially, when they were very close together and Peaky had fresher tyres. And that's allowed Skidsy to just carve his way through the field, and now he's in P1. Peaky still lapping in the 7s. Filthy in the 8s. Claws in the 9s. Skidsy in the 7s. We have, we're on lap 34 now. We are 38.5 minutes into this lap 40 race, and it's looking very comfortable for Skidsy at the moment. Mazda's been a very solid car all season. It actually got a nerf before this final race. The tyre wear took a hit. It wasn't as good as it was previously. Obviously, it's still one of the quickest cars on the grid, as you can see. But it won't be as strong next season because of the little nerf that it got. So we might see some other cars come to the fore. First lap in the 8s for Skidsy. What's Claus doing? He's in the 9s. Peaky has just got past Filthy. How has he done that? Lining up into the final corner. Filthy Oh, just goes, loses a little bit of grip on exit, and Peaky just slides through very easily. And that is the tyre difference between the the Volkswagen Beetle and the Lexus. But Filthy might try a move to get this position back. He's not done yet. He's going to try and get that podium. He wants the podium. Peaky goes wide into the corner and closes the door, which he's well entitled to do, and he gets P3. And Filthy doesn't have the grip to keep up with him. So Peaky might be able to get P2 here, and you never know. We've got 20 seconds left. Let's ride on board with Skidsy, because we've got 20 seconds left of the race. He's still in P1, but he has to get to the end. His rear tyre's nearly completely dead, which means that this left-hander's particularly, there's a high risk of spinning when it's that worn. He's going very carefully, he knows it. And he's got one more corner before he crosses the checkered flag and wins the championship. And he's made it. He's not hit the wall. He's going carefully. Peaky's only in P3. And Skidsy is about to be, for the second time, the champion of Tier 2 as he crosses the checkered flag right now in the Mazda RX Vision. Fantastic season. Claws in P2. A really great result for him on completely dead tyres. Peaky is your championship runner-up in P3. Filthy manages to get P4. Denz is your championship third place finisher on P5 after an incredibly solid season. Whack Jams wraps up the Constructors' Championship for Mazda, taking that P6. Woozy P7 in the Toyota. Riaba with his two-stop strategy gets P8. Polty 9th. Kanata in 10th, with Major, Dado and Yuri rounding out the top, the finishing positions. So there you have it. Skidsy is the only other person apart from me to win Tier 3 twice, which I was hoping to keep that record for myself. And he joins a very small group of people who've won more than one championship. Outside of Iggy, there is me, Skinsy, the dude, Gin Tonics, and Yeah Right. So that's 6 drivers in ALR who've managed to win more than one championship in GT7. We will have a lot more opportunities next season for people to win more championships. We might be moving down to 5 tiers next season. It is the summer months, people are busy, and we are conscious of that. We want to have full grids as well. So maybe keep an eye out if you were thinking that you'd be in 1 tier. Look at the tier above. You might end up in a tier above if we do 5 tiers. But yeah, that's it from me for this season. I'm going to have a nice little rest in the off season. Apart from on Wednesday, we're going to be doing our Patreon race, which I will be commentating. That is going to be in Group 2 cars around Suzuka, which is going to be quite exciting. We don't often race Group 2 cars, so if you want to take part in the Patreon race, you can by joining Patreon today. The link is in Discord, or you can watch the stream as well. I'll be live streaming it on Wednesday. Before that, on Monday, we got Race Champions being hosted by Pyro. We're going to see Skinsy, Peaky, and Denz in there. Unfortunately, I didn't qualify. So I'm going to have a little break from that. I won't be commentating it. Pyro is going to be your commentator there. So yeah, we've got plenty of off-season stuff going on as well. We've got Lemons, and I think we're going to organise an oval race before the start of next season as well. So keep an eye out for those announcements as well. And next season, we're going to be bringing back the 2-hour endurance series, and the Mazda Cup is going to be a new Saturday series, which is going to be on every other week, and you're going to be racing 2 half-hour races at different tracks in the Mazda Cup. Very low tyre wear, but you will have to stop for fuel during those races. So it's going to have a little bit of a different dynamic to the races that we usually have on Mondays and into our endurance series. So join us then, and if you have any questions on any of that, just tag me on Discord. And thanks for watching.